Hello, this is Russell from
Tones of Evil.
and you're listening to Capes and Lunatics.
This is Luca Perich, and you're listening to the Capes and Lunatics podcast.
Diggity dank.
Hello and welcome back, Hepcats. It's time for another Nightwing. Hey, it's a 70s edition. Come on. It's time for another Nightwing.
Cats is the 40s.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Anyway,
70s is like jive turkeys or something.
I was born in 78. I do not remember the 70s. Anyway, I am Phil, joining me as always. She knows her history.
Hi, I'm Kristen.
From medieval to now, she knows her history. And tonight, like I said, we're covering a 70s issue, Batman 232, the first appearance of a certain villain. A certain villain who sometimes people can't agree on how to pronounce his name.
Oh yeah, I forgot to ask my friends. I'll report back later.
I know some people say they would go with the pronunciation Denny O'Neil said because he's the one who created the character. Did he say Raish, I think?
Yeah, but I mean, I guess it depends on if it's supposed to be Arabic and Denny O'Neil is pronouncing Arabic wrong, then I guess I'm going to go with somebody who knows Arabic. I thought it also had to do with, well, and it could be, there's a lot of different dialects of Arabic, so it could also be, I mean, it's supposed to be head of the demon, so that might also affect how it is. Whatever.
All right, but yes, like I was telling you before we get to that, yes, Dick Grayson made a quick appearance this week. And
all right, yes, give us a preview. I haven't picked that up from the shop yet.
Batman: The Adventures Continue, Season 2, Number 1.
So this is like animated, right?
Yeah, it's in the animated universe. Yeah, I mean, they're basically in this issue. They basically introduced the Court of Owls. Well, at least the Talon, but.
Okay. The animated Court of Owls.
Yeah. I forgot he was in this. But yeah, at first Dick appears. I guess he's on a date with Barbara at the circus. Because Boston brand Deadman kind of floats by.
Yeah.
And I guess in the animated universe, or the way they're writing it now, I guess Boston Brand was like a hero to Dick when he was like a kid aerialist, you know?
Oh, so that makes Boston kind of old then.
Well, he's dead now. It doesn't matter now.
Well, I guess that's true. He's always very youthful.
And then the Talon from the Court of Owls attacks, the mayor, Hamilton Hill. So later you just have Dick, Bruce has Dick watching the mayor in the hospital and stuff. And that's basically all we get at Dick this issue, but.
Yeah, I haven't read all of the Adventures Continue, but I know he was in some of them. Yeah. Although there was one where he was on the cover, one of the variant covers, and then he wasn't in the issue, and I was.
Well, in the first season, most of those.
It was about Red Hood, really.
Yeah, they brought Jason back as Red Hood. Yeah, because they really never have Jason in the animated series. They're kind of like, oh, this is why we never talked about this Robin. Yeah,
well, because the animated series version of Tim Drake is really more of a Jason character.
Well, yeah, they gave him Jason's origin. I don't know at the time if they were just like, yeah, I don't know if on our kids show if we want to explain how a Robin got bludgeoned to death by a crowbar.
Yeah, but now we're like, well, it's time for kids to know. Sometimes you get beaten to death with a crowbar, apparently. Oh. It's time to stop protecting the children from the harsh realities of life. Although, let's be frank, I mean, if we've decided as a nation that it is totally okay for students to go to school and have active shooter drills where they have to be afraid that some gunman's going to come in and mow them down in their elementary school class, then I guess they can handle Jason Todd being murdered by the Joker.
I know.
But, yeah. Yeah. Well, so that'll be interesting to see. I hope when the new Batman animated series, whatever they're calling it, comes out, that they get some version of Robin. And it'll be interesting to see because so far, well, the most recent animated movies have done Damian and Dick. But prior to that, I think all of the animated, well, no, I guess Batman Unlimited, that had kind of all different kinds of Robins in it. But before that, the Batman, I mean, most of the ones that have been on television, Cartoon Network and stuff, they started with Dick as Robin.
Yeah.
So I'll be interested to see if they stick with that or if they want to like.
Yeah, I wonder if we're gonna get it. Wonder if we're gonna get the Dick eventually in the Batman movie, or give us I don't know, or give us like a Robin's animated thing or something. Highlight.
Well, they have. I don't know if you saw I think it's the thing on DC Universe. I'm pretty sure the Robin's one is going to win over the Suicide Squad 7 or whatever.
I would think so. Yeah, because that's what was that? Was that a digital thing? Yeah, and they were like, there was a bunch of books to vote on. Yeah, and the two finalists were a Robin's book and a Suicide Squad thing. So come on, who's gonna pick?
And I was glad I finally got to vote on it because before the voting was only on Twitter, and I don't have Twitter because I can't handle Twitter, and that made me a little bit sad.
I don't vote on a lot of those, but I saw that and I was like, I'm logging in, I'm voting for that Robin's book.
I mean, I would have voted, but I'm not going to create a Twitter just to vote on that.
Oh, did you have to go on Twitter? Because
initially it was on Twitter, but then it switched to DC. Then it was also on DC Universe Infinite. Okay. For the final round, I could vote on DC Universe Infinite. Okay. Anyway, all right. Also, other treasure, ta-da, everyone, if you're watching.
Oh yes, she got
the second printing of Nightwing, number 79. So this is the first one back, right?
Or is this the second one? Second one, yeah.
Second one back. Okay, right. Oh yeah, so this is after this is when he goes for pizza. This is after. Yeah. Yes. So, but look at that amazing cover. Has all the best. Robin, Disco Wing, yeah. The worst wing with that hair. Finger stripes. Red Wing. New one. And Batgirl. Lovely homage to the Bat Rope in Batman 66.
And if you're not familiar with the art or you're listening to this on the podcast, yes, I flipped it and made it the header on our Facebook and Twitter pages. So, yes.
Yes, it goes up and down. He's climbing up the wall, but you can also turn it side to side and then...
Yes.
Then it looks like he's playing tug of war.
Exactly. But yeah, I guess that's a homage to like Batman 66.
Yes, and also to all of the outfits he's had. Mm-hmm. But yeah, definitely with the bat robe and how Barbara's coming out the window, because, they always used to do those cameos. So yeah, it's pretty rocking.
All right, so should we get
Good times.
Should we get to this issue?
So, yes. Da-da-da-da! Batman 232.
Yes. Oh, is that a reprint? I'm assuming.
Yeah. There's a facsimile. Yeah. So it would be really expensive to buy this one. I have a feeling.
Well, I didn't know if your dad had it or so.
No, he doesn't have. He might have been reading them, but actually, he probably did not have this one because this one came out originally in 71 or 72. 71.
Well, that just...
I don't know if my dad wasn't even 10 years old, so he wouldn't have been taking good enough care of his comics to have kept them for that long.
Oh, I'm always, I still seethe because it's like my dad told me like when he was a kid, like he had like, some of those Marvels, like the first issue of Spider-Man, the first Avengers, a bunch of that stuff would be worth a lot of money now. I don't know if his mother got rid of them or what. I'm just like, how much money those things would be worth?
Well, still in the 70s, they weren't printing them on it. They wouldn't have lasted as long, I don't think. They were printing them still on. It wasn't until the 80s that they started printing them on the fancy pants paper.
Exactly.
But yeah, so this one I just knew was important because if you watch Batman the Animated Series, this is the first part of the Demon's Quest. I mean, practically word for word. Like, it's an extremely exact adaptation of this comic. And also, it would be expensive. This one was only $3.99 because it was a facsimile reprint. And gee, why would they choose to reprint this one? Well, a variety of reasons. One, I think this is the debut of Ra's al Ghul. This is where we find out this is Talia's dad. This is not Talia's first one. But also, this is by, like, everybody famous had a hand in this. The story is by Denny O'Neil. The art is by Neil Adams and Dick Giordano. And it was edited by Julius Schwartz. Those are, like, all four really big famous Batman writers, editors, pencilers, etc.
Okay, I looked this up on eBay. I had to see how much this issue was going for.
Yeah,
If you
how
want,
much, Phil?
if you want a copy in like bad condition, you can get it for $76.
What?
I mean, but it's anywhere from like $76, and then there's some like over 1,000.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm not surprised. Well, that's what I said, because I think it's not just because it's Ra's al Ghul, but because it's a Denny O'Neil, Neil Adams. I mean, really, because it's Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams right there. But,
Oh man, there's one on here for 20,000. It's signed by Neil Adams.
well, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, although, think how much you'd get if it was also signed by Denny O'Neil, because Denny O'Neil's not signing anything anymore.
I know anything signed by Denny O'Neil is probably more valuable now because there's not going to be.
Yeah, actually, is Neil Adams is still alive though, isn't he? Or is he?
I believe so. I think he was working on something Batman recently. I didn't read it, but I believe.
Oh yeah, wasn't he doing the Batman Ra's al Ghul?
Yeah.
That miniseries. Yeah, that miniseries is a little trippy.
I haven't read it. I might just wait for like a trade or something. But yeah, so yeah, he's still around.
My dad My dad was getting it. We were getting it. Yeah, it's a little.
Did he like it at all, or?
I'm not sure if he's read it. He's really behind with his comics, but I've been reading some of them. It hasn't been coming out consistently. Yeah. It's like 6 or 8 issues, and I think it's been like 3 years that it's been coming out. I have one downstairs. I haven't read it yet, but the most recent issue, Nightwing, the Robins are in it. Like,
oh, cool.
But yeah.
I know it was delayed.
But they're like all in it at the same time. Like I said, it's a little bit trippy.
Yeah, I knew there was big delays because I heard something about it recently. I'm like, that's still going on? I'm like, wasn't that like 2 years ago or something?
Yeah, it has not been coming out. It's kind of like All-Star Batman and Robin, not coming out consistently.
Still waiting for that issue.
But, so, anyway, yeah. So this one, way famous. Yeah.
That big Ra's al Ghul on the cover, yeah. So this...
Before we get in, actually, so you're reading it digitally, I assume, but I would like to point out, because I have the facsimile, I also have a facsimile of the letter column.
Oh, nice.
And I would just like to say this made me quite exciting. The very first letter in this issue to the editor is by Mike W. Barr from Akron, Ohio.
Wow.
Is that Mike Barr? Did he write comics?
I know he was an artist. Yeah, I don't know if he wrote, but I know he was an artist.
I think he wrote some of the Batman and the Outsiders. Well, remember he came to the... You might not have been there yet, but he came to the conference at Bowling Green.
Yeah, and I know he drew some Detective Comics issues too. So so
yeah, he wrote some stuff. He wrote some stuff too. I think he did outside. Oh yeah, he did some of the Outsider stuff because he was also talking about, because that was when the series was going on, and I think Halo. I think he was he created Halo or something.
Yeah, I think he did the art for a while, and then I think he might have took over as writer.
Yeah. So anyway, so that was exciting. And so I was like, wait, he goes on to write comics. Or I mean, maybe he already was. I don't know how old Mike. I'm gonna Google him. How old was Mike W. Barr when he wrote this? Was he a youth, or was he?
I don't know. Well, I think when he's like those Detectives and those Outsiders issues, I think we're in the 80s. So I mean, this might have been like
okay. He was born in 1952. So he's 19. So he's 19 years old in 1971. So yeah, he's probably a college student.
Yeah,
maybe at the University of Akron. Oh wait, his debut came in Detective 444, December 1974.
Okay, so he was 20-some. Okay, yeah, I'm 70. Yeah, so was he like 23 or no 22?
Yeah, 22.
Yeah, wow. they were hiring him young over there for a while because what was that?
They did.
Yeah, there was one guy.
Maybe they were swayed by this amazing letter.
I forget. It was Jerry Conway who did a bunch of stuff over at Marvel. Like he created like the Punisher. I think he started when he was like a teenager or something.
Oh yeah, well I mean back when they first got. I mean Jerry Robinson. He was like. He was like freaking Oliver Twist. They were like, "Oh, come on, kid, come write comics with us." He was like child laborer practically.
Well, that's like even like back in the day, like in the 40s, they said like Stan Lee was like working in the offices there at like Marvel and stuff before he became the Stan Lee.
Right. Yeah. Well, because we were more lax about child labor back in the day. Also, because comics were not as prestigious, so they weren't as difficult to break into.
Exactly.
Anyway, partially. So aside from Oh, Mike Barr, before he was writing the comics, was writing letters in the comics. Then also there were some pretty good, people were generally enjoying the Robin stories that were the backups, in here. But, so Mike Barr says the returning cast of characters at Hudson is finally being established. Oh yeah, and the issue before, or the one they're writing about, Batman 229, was the one that had a little dig at Peter Parker and Spider-Man in there, because it's something about Dick with the newspaper.
Oh.
But then there are a couple people saying, yes, we caught that line about Peter Parker. Yes. And then, oh yeah, this one I enjoyed. Michelle Mondro from Detroit. If you listen, Michelle, I like your letter, but you're probably, off having an adult life. But she says, great art, great script. Wow, being a girl, I really dig Dick Grayson and Robin's hair and clothes.
Whoa, groovy.
Exactly. But saying he needs a new costume. Campy stories, but now he needs a better uniform. Also, to get Dick more human, let's see him going on dates more often. So this is pretty Laurie Elton. I'd forgotten, because I just finished reading the Bronze Age Omnibus, and it really isn't until, right when Batman Family, right around that time, that he gets Laurie Elton. She, kind of officially becomes his girlfriend.
Oh, my.
Actually, in the Parking Lot Bandit story. There you go. Yeah.
Oh, you know what?
So yeah, people were liking. Hey,
keep talking. I gotta go grab my power cord. I forgot. I don't want to run out.
Oh yes, people were liking the Robin story, but also suggesting he needed a new uniform. They tried it out, but it didn't last. They put him back into the other one. And also, Fred Lassiter from Naples, Florida, said that the Batman stories without Robin are even better, and the Robin stories without Batman are even better. And Robin is fabulous as a solo operator, but if he has to have a teammate, the one shot with Superman in World's Finest 200 was great. That involved Dick going back to the circus, something nefarious was afoot at the circus, and Superman helped him out. So anyway, yeah, it was fun reading the letter columns because everybody was in it. Oh yeah, that same one, Madeline Robbins from Sheffield, Massachusetts, again also said, how about a new costume for Robin? He's really getting too old to be running around in green jockey shorts and a tunic.
Back in the day when you had to wait a couple months for letters for, about previous issues,
Right, yeah, that was 229 and this is 232, so
yeah, now
it was 2 issues behind.
Now you just email.
Or yeah, 3 issues behind, yeah. Yep. All right. So now, Batman with Robin the Teen Wonder.
We got Robin getting gunned down, it looks like.
I know. Which looks very dire, but we can find out later, I assume, that they are tranquilizer darts.
Yes. But yeah, like you said, this is almost word for word, and just I remember that shot from the animated series episode of him climbing up the side of the building and stuff.
Yeah. About the only difference is in the animated series they have him attending Gotham State instead of being at Hudson.
Yeah, and he was in the dorm. This just says it's a boarding house near Hudson University.
Yeah, which I feel like that's a very 70s thing. Nowadays you can't be a freshman and not live in the dorms if you don't live with your parents.
And again, if it was that seems weird too, because if it's a question of money, aren't you Bruce Wayne's ward?
Yeah, no, it's not a question of money.
Oh, okay.
Having read some of these older issues, he does specifically move into that rooming house because he and Bruce think it will be more secret identity conducive than living
easier to sneak in and out. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because I assume he made sure to find a landlady he could rent from that had a convenient drain pipe by his room so he could shimmy up and down it. And maybe someone who also doesn't have screens. That's one thing I never understand. Don't people have screens in there? You can't just open the window and go in and out. The screen's in the way.
I know Spider-Man had at least two. Peter Parker had at least 2 apartments with a skylight in the bathroom that opened up, and he just went out the skylight because he had the upper apartment on the top floor.
That's smart. Although actually skylights are terrible. If you don't have secret identity issues, Skylights. It's very easy for moisture to get in there.
Yeah.
They're cool, but I recommend not against skylights. All right. Anyway, so yes. And then...
Dick comes home one night, yes, and gets gunned down, it looks like.
Yep. And then Bruce gets a messenger, left a letter, has a picture of Dick all tied up.
So, it says hours later after that page with Dick, but then Bruce says...
I know, but then Bruce is like, no one's seen him for days, so...
So did he disappear on his own for days, and then he just got kidnapped a few hours ago? It's just like... It's in the same panel, Denny. Come on.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was hanging out around Hudson University before that. I could run downstairs and double check what exactly he was doing, but yeah, I don't think I was thinking that same thing. I'm like, but I mean, hours. Technically, it's just many more hours than you typically think when you hear hours later.
I guess hours later could be 48, 72. I guess,
exactly. Yeah. I mean, when you hear hours later, you think like 3. But maybe in this case, they mean 50.
52.
But yeah.
But yeah, Alfred's like, oh, this letter came, and it's, yes, a picture of Robin tied up. Dear Batman, we have Robin. Save him if you can.
And then this is about the only other thing they had to change, because Bruce never moves out to the penthouse in the animated series, so he's already in the Batcave. But here he's like, I have to go back to the Batcave.
Yeah, because he needs something to, I guess, analyze the picture and everything in the cave. So yes, he goes back to the mansion, even though he's not living there at the time.
But I love how he doesn't take the car. Or like he takes the car but parks it somewhere else and then jumps his own fence. What's up with that?
I mean, that does look weird too, because we don't see the Batmobile. One panel we see him swinging out of the penthouse, the next we see him standing on the fence. So it's like, yeah, did he?
Yeah, like you walked and swung 14 miles
into the suburbs. Yeah, okay.
Then pretty soon the houses are going to get like way farther apart and not as tall.
I guess we can assume he took the Batmobile.
Yeah, I know. So anyway, all right. He gets in, and look at that. Somebody is in the Batcave. What?
Who says, welcome home, Bruce Wayne, or shall I address you as the Batman?
And then I do love how Ra's al Ghul is like, yeah, dude, it wasn't that hard to figure out who you were. Like, Batman has to be a rich dude. I just looked into the rich dudes. Looked at what the rich dudes were buying. Bam, you.
And Bruce is like, I'm going to have to fix, I'm going to have to do something about that. Yep. Oh, please, Silver St. Cloud figured it out by looking at his chin.
They do sometimes make fun of that. Remember there's that episode where Harley Quinn...
Yes.
Yeah. That's why he should have a full thing. Like, I was talking with my family. I always thought it was kind of funny in movies when people rob banks and they just put the handkerchief, on there. I'm like, who's that gonna fool? No way. I'm convinced. I was wrong. Old West Bank robbers. That handkerchief, because we've all been wearing masks, and then I've seen some people that I met with masks, without masks, and a lot of times I think, oh snap, you don't look like I thought you would. I thought your face was different under that mask.
I mean, there's been versions of the
You have no idea.
There's been versions of the Batsuit where the head's fully covered. I mean, when Azrael was Batman, this next Batman head's fully covered. It's like, it makes sense. I mean, you can even have like air filters in there, so you don't got to worry about fear gas or nothing.
Plus, you don't get the weird suntan. I mean, I know he's mostly out at night, but not always. Also, you're just vulnerable. Someone's gonna cut you. You could get... And again, nasty stuff in your mouth. You catch diseases.
Secret identity.
You don't know where the...
Yeah, and secret identity, you could put a voice modulator in there so people can't recognize your voice.
Yeah, it'd be easier than modulating your voice with nothing.
And that's the only skin he shows. It's like if he had done that from day one, covered his complete face, no one would know who's in there. A white guy, a black guy, an Asian guy. No one would know.
Exactly. It really...
It was the 40s.
Well, I mean, we shouldn't criticize Batman too much. I mean, at least he covers up most of his face. I mean, Robin and Nightwing is like, I wear a domino mask.
I know. Oh, but look, yes, it's Ra's or Ra's al Ghul. Take your pick. Yes, with Ubu.
Ubu.
I love this look. Oh! I love this look, and they did it exactly like this for the animated series. Ra's just has like the cape with like, he has a green suit and tie underneath. He just throws a cape on it.
I know, he's all green. Yeah.
Because he wants to save the planet.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, my daughter Talia has also been abducted.
And he's like, oh, you're Talia's father.
Yeah. So like,
So did Bruce at this point only meet Talia once before, which they say is Detective 411?
Yeah, May 1971, and this one's still 1971, but I'm not sure what month. Does it say?
Because they kind of even did that in the animated series too. Like he met Talia like an episode before. Yeah, Roz actually.
Yeah, well, that same one. Yeah, that same one where she's. Yeah. I mean, they do follow these ones pretty exactly in this regard. Yeah. So yeah. So then also. Bruce, Batman's first clue that something's up. So Ra's al Ghul is all like, "Oh, I received this," and then he just hands it and is like, "Do this work for me, Batman."
Well, he's testing him, but yes.
Well, yes, that we know that, but that's part of Batman's first clue. Is like, why is this dude not helping me at all?
Well, again, I mean, he could always be like, "I'm no detective. That's why I came to you."
Still suspicious.
But yeah, Batman like examines this photo and stuff for it says better part of an hour.
Hours later.
What says the better part of an hour? Yes, unmistakable bits of a certain herb, one used in ceremonies of a Far East cult of killers.
Brotherhood of the Demon. There's a lot of demons in here.
Well, you wouldn't happen to know anyone from the Far East, would you? Ra's al Ghul, would you?
Yeah, but he's from the Middle East.
Oh.
The middle part of the East. But yeah, of course he knows. Yes.
And I recall they're currently located in Calcutta. We shall proceed to India immediately. Oh, and again, just like in the animated episode, Ubu's like, "Oh no, you're not going up them steps before Ra's al Ghul, infidel."
He doesn't call him that in here, though.
Yeah,
I think he might in the animated show.
It does right here. Yeah, like at the bottom of the page. Infidel.
Might, yeah.
Infidel, my lord al Ghul leaves this chamber.
Oh, no, he does. Infidel, you're right, yeah. All right. He's tucking that away. Oh, and then, right, because again, they don't know who's reading these comics. This could be anyone. Someone could have just picked it up. So now we get the backstory.
Oh yeah, because as they're on the plane, Bruce is thinking about I'll cry later if I must for Robin. And then he thinks about the night his parents were murdered.
Yep. And then he thinks about how he's working out, and then we see how Dick's parents died, and he takes Dick in.
And I felt for that boy whose parents died just like mine until I fire him years from now.
Well, we're not there yet.
I know. But man,
he still feels for him. Just sometimes his feelings come out wrong.
Man, this is a pretty grim portrayal of the Batman origin. I mean, was it when Joe Chill shoots his mother? I mean, that shot goes whizzing right by Bruce. Another couple inches, Bruce would have been dead too.
So true. Then he's in Calcutta, where he just happens to know the right alley.
Yeah, he
beats the guys up.
Well, these guys
talk.
Yeah. He attacks these guys who they're like, "Oh, a devil from hell, a Batman." They attack him with sticks. So that's not gonna work.
All right, the Brotherhood hides at the end of the Alley of Widows. They're like, "Oh, the Alley of Widows is like right here." Oh, go figure.
Yes. How can I get there? Go about 25 feet. Yeah, right there.
It's right at the end of this street. Oh, okay.
But I love how he bluffs him because, the guy's like, "I dare not answer. The Brotherhood would have my life." And he's like, "Fool, you think I will not?"
Hey, this guy doesn't know.
Batman doesn't kill, yep.
All right, then Batman's trying to go again, and Ubu, I warn you again. Back off. It's like, all right. Tucks that away because here they are at the end that the Alley of Widows, and that's weird. Batman gets to go in first, and Ubu doesn't say anything.
Yep. Ra's went first in the alley, but going through the door, Batman gets to go first after Ra's, comments about, "Oh, Napoleon once said in private conversation." It's like, wait, what? You talking about Napoleon?
Yes. Yeah, although he could be saying, as Napoleon once remarked in private conversation, it doesn't necessarily have to be private conversation with him.
I know, but I think that's what we find.
I mean, yes. Yes.
So yes, Batman gets to go first in this room, and all of a sudden, it says a furry juggernaut.
That's right. With bared fangs, gleaming eyes,
A leopard.
gleaming eyes, pools of bloodlust.
Killer leopard.
Batman's just like, elbows it in the face.
Well, he throws his elbow in the mouth. Like if you shove your elbow in there enough, they can't like close their mouths. You can like keep the jaw.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's wrestling with it, and then I guess he has to snap its neck. And Roz, excellent detective. Is there no limit to your prowess?
Like, no, none. That leopard was trained. What's it guarding? Only this map.
I know. There's nothing in this room except for a desk with a map. This doesn't scream trap.
It's a trap. Then he says, there's a little scratch on the paper.
Says, a long fingernail scratched it.
And he says, I assume you can finance this? He's like, oh yeah, for sure.
Well, first Bruce is like, if you can't finance it, if you can't, and then Roz's like, no, I got it. I'll get the check.
That's the thing is like, Batman's rich, but Ra's al Ghul is so rich, like, you can't even count it.
I know. But again,
because he's so old and has his fingers in every pot. He's almost like he doesn't even necessarily need to be rich because he's so creepily powerful.
But I don't know if Bruce even knows that yet. But then too, it's like both.
No, but
yeah, and it's like both their kids. So it's like, yeah, okay, I'll pick up the check this time. Okay. And then as they're leaving, Bruce, he's like, oh, at least I forget after you. Then they find their way to the Himalayas.
The mighty Himalayas.
Mount Nanda Devi.
Sounds good.
So, I don't think they explain this. Wait, in story, do they? Whose face is that in the mountain?
I don't know. The old man of the mountain.
That's not you, Denny, is it? But yes, it hasn't snowed for several days. The trail is still clear. So, Bruce asking Roz, can you go on? And he's like, I don't have all your skills, but I am your equal in stamina.
And he wants moments to gaze and wax poetic about
the beauty to which my soul responds. Yes, because isn't this the point? Sometimes they change the details, but I think at this point, especially in the beginning, isn't Roz is like, yeah, I'll save the Earth by killing like 90% of the population.
Yep. Yes.
Okay, Thanos.
I think Ra's al Ghul would look at Thanos and be like, "Oh yeah, you should aim higher, dude."
Hey,
50%. That's weak. That's chump change.
Yes, but 50% of the universe.
Oh, that's true. Raz only cares about Earth. He's like, the rest of the universe can deal with itself.
Well, he might, but I don't think at this point he's like, I can't reach anything besides Earth. So.
Earth, other planets got to get their own Ra's al Ghul. He's just one man.
So they follow this trail up the mountain, and then they get shot at. Sniper.
Yeah, and of course Batman offers to lead, and they say, of course you can. He doesn't object, which I think also then, because as we realize, since we know it's a trap, then by them being at the bottom, it allows his hired guns, literally in this case, to shoot Ubu and Rash off so that they fall and they can take him away.
Yeah, because Ubu gets Roz to a ledge supposedly, and then Batman climbs up, gets out of his coat, and then uses his coat as a decoy. The guy shoots the coat thinking it's Batman, and then Batman sneaks up and takes him out. Then Batman sees smoke.
Yep.
But then as he's moving towards the hideout, he sees a helicopter. And he's like,
guess who the passengers are.
He's like, I can guess who the passengers are. I love the editors though. Batman acts as though he has the case cracked. There's no.
So then he just busts in. He's like, whatever, dudes.
Well, there's two guards.
Boom! There he is. Robin sitting there on the bench.
Well,
and he's like, I've been treating you, kid. Not bad. Chow's lousy. Nice atmosphere. And we see Batman leaving that little knife behind.
Yep. We even told the guards out front, he's like, yeah, don't point your guns at me. You know you're not going to shoot me. You know you're not supposed to.
Yep. Yep, he knows.
And then, on your knees, intruder, the Supreme Brother enters.
It's like, no.
He's like, nah, I don't think I'm going to get on my knees. I mixed it. Last 3 days, I mixed with cutthroats and a killer leopard. I bruised my knuckles on various chins. I've climbed the mountain and dodged bullets. So I don't have any patience left for phony rituals. All right, here he is. He's going to reveal, yes. In fact, I don't have any patience, period. You've been putting me through paces. You think I'm too dumb to understand? You think a man with my training couldn't see what's been happening? From the very beginning, I saw the whole deal was a charade. Ra's al Ghul and his ox of a servant showing right after Robin disappeared. That was a joke. Too big a coincidence. And his story of his daughter's identical disappearance wanted to fool a moron.
Yep, and then Calcutta, Ubu always says boss had to go ahead, except when there was the jaguar. Or the leopard, he says.
Conclusion.
And then he lied about the scratch. There was no scratch. And he didn't even explain where the scratch was. But.
Yes, and yet Ubu.
Ra's al Ghul took him to this mountain in the Himalayas as opposed to all the other ones.
13 Himalayas, yes. I'm tired of talking. You ready, Robin? Shall we begin?
Boom!
So we get a like a 66 Batman 66 fight scene. Bow, pow.
Yeah, for real.
Oh, hello, Russell. Oh, that's right. We have Russell feedback when we finish this. He sent audio. He reviewed this issue. Hi, Russell. Denny O'Neil hype. Yes, I just started a deep dive on everyone's favorite Gotham City crime fighter, Azrael. I like that series. Never mentioned that in front of Lilith. You'll set her off. She doesn't like Azrael.
I mean, he has this moment. Once he gets a little less zealous, he's not so...
In his own book, he wasn't as bad. He got 100 issues, all written by Denny O'Neil. So
his thing went 100 issues, really?
Mm-hmm.
I've only read a few. The ones where Nightwing appeared, like where there's that one where his friend is like, "Hey, Nightwing, I've never been kissed. Will you kiss me?"
Oh yeah.
And Nightwing's like, "Okay, sure." What?
She was basically like a nun, and this was like her first time out in the real world. So of course, hey.
I know. I mean, I guess go big or go home kind of thing. Like if it's your only experience, you might as well be like, hey, you're the hottest dude I've laid eyes on. Let's go.
I was staring at your butt. I found it quite pleasant. Could I have a quick kiss? Oh, jeez.
All right. So then, anyway, Batman beats up on Ubu. Boom.
Yep. Yeah, he rips the mask off. It's Ubu.
Oh yeah, and then the weirdest quote. Look who's joined the merriment, Robin. The Honorable Ra's al Ghul and his girl child.
Oh my. Is there any way to talk about the mother of your child?
Well, not yet.
Not yet. No. But I love when he rips the mask off Ubu. He's like, there's no sense wearing this any longer. It's a poor disguise for one as big and ugly as you, Ubu.
No, he's so mean.
I know.
And he's like, all right. The only thing I don't know is why we did this. And that's where we have the big reveal. You should have figured the obvious. Talia loves you.
Yes.
And so it was a test. Are you worthy of being my son-in-law? Ooh.
And he gets the kiss on the well, is it the cheek or the chin? But yeah, see, Talia gives him a kiss.
That's the end.
Boy, that's some ending.
You know, this is next issue on sale on or about May 11th. So I think he must have just met Talia, 2 months ahead? Because they said the issue was the May issue, but usually I think that when they said May, they must have meant the cover.
Yeah.
Was May.
I mean, yeah, I don't know how long ago. And it was in Detective, so it could have been any time. How it could have been the same month if it was in Detective, but...
Yeah, that's true. It could have been the same month. Talia moves fast.
Hello.
I didn't mean it like that.
I know. But no, I even saw people like, I mean, this is an old debate, but I saw people doing it again recently on, was it Twitter or something? They're like, every time Ra's like asked Batman to take over, why doesn't Batman just take over and like run the league like he wants? It's like, hey, no killing.
Yeah, it could have been Batman Incorporated.
Exactly. That's what I think someone even said. It's like, yeah, it's like it could have been an early version of Batman Incorporated.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because then the story wouldn't have gone the way they wanted.
Well, and I guess because part of it is, I guess the other thing is, it's not like, I think if he takes over and does completely the opposite thing, it's not like Ra's al Ghul is going to let him do that.
Yeah.
And you don't necessarily, and Talia, as you later realize, is not necessarily going to let him do that. So.
And again, if you're, and if you have an army of killers, if you do that, eventually someone's gonna be like, "Hey, this isn't what I signed up for," and someone's gonna be trying.
Yeah, I signed up to kill people. What the heck?
They're gonna be trying to assassinate Batman every night. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, yes. On the one hand, you're like, why don't you just take it over and change it? But on the other hand, yeah, people sign up for this because they want to kill people, and you would have to kill Ra's al Ghul and Talia, and then we find out later they keep adding other Al Ghuls. Like, you would have to wipe out the whole family because otherwise.
Oh yeah, he has at least one other daughter, Nissa. Yeah.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. So and then. Well. Yeah. And then there's like that old guy and stuff. There's a lot of people you'd have to. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Later on, there's a lot of people you'd have to wipe out because. Yeah. There are like lots of alternative, there are lots of alternative leaders. Mm-hmm. It's like when you depose someone and take over as king, you got a clean house. Like pretty much if you kick someone off the throne so you take it, the previous guy.
Can't leave him alive. Yeah, no.
No.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
That was one of the funniest things when many years ago, okay, maybe not, several years ago, when I TA'd for an modern history class, they were talking about the French Revolution. They were like, oh, so then, like, they got rid of the monarchy, and then why do you think they had to kill the king? And the students had all these, they were, like, thinking of these really deep reasons. I was like, you can't just not kill the king. I mean, hello? I'm like, in the Middle Ages, whenever you depose a king for a new one, the previous king,
you gotta kill
him. He's dead, or else you poke his eyes out and stick him in a monastery where he's basically dead. So you can't just have him hanging around. Everyone was like, oh, okay.
All right, you want to hear the feedback Russell sent in for this issue?
Yes, Russell, are you still hanging around? Or
I don't think he's on right now. Yeah, he must have. But
okay. Well, I saw he sent that little message.
Yes, for those of you who are not familiar, our new friend Russell from Kentucky does his own podcast, Tomes of Evil, where he talks about different supervillains every episode. So I wonder if he's done Ra's al Ghul yet. I'm sure if he has, this probably put the idea in his head. All right.
There's a lot of material to work with.
Oh, look, it's like 5 minutes. All right, here's what Russell had to think about this issue.
Hello, this is Russell from Tomes of Evil, and I'm sending in feedback for Batman number 232, which is, of course, from the iconic run of Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams, and the first appearance of Ra's, or is it Ra's al Ghul.
Potato.
Right off the bat, I'll just get this out of the way real quick. The art is great. Neil Adams, not too crazy about some of his current art, but back in the day, man, this was the, one of my favorite words, quintessential Batman artist. And pretty much most of the good Batman artists would kind of follow suit with this style. Now, let's talk about the real meat and potatoes. I have read a lot of Denny O'Neil stuff recently from, I read all 36 issues of The Question. I've read his Shadow run. If there's one thing Denny did right, it was street level noir vigilantes. I mean, you have the Shadow, The Question, Daredevil, brief run on Spider-Man, Azrael,
Iron Man,
Green Arrow, Green Lantern, well, of course, Batman. Denny definitely has a knack for writing the street level caped crusaders. It's very, but this is a little globe trotting, so it's a little bit different. Ra's al Ghul has always been one of my least favorite Batman villains. I know he's a big one, mostly due to this run, but he's just, I don't think he's special enough. Yes, he matches wits with Batman, and he is a skilled fighter himself, and they have the whole bit with the Lazarus Pit and immortality, but he doesn't have the charisma that the other rogues do. And it's not that I hate him, I just if he's in a story, I'm just okay, or I'm not really excited, I'm not truly disappointed, I'm just he's there. This was a nice introduction to him. We see him deducing Batman's secret identity immediately, and then by the end of it, Batman reveals that he has deduced his plan all along. He was not, however, prepared for Talia being in love with him. We get brief origin recaps for both Batman and Robin. Not sure why that was needed, but every so often, I guess for new readers, they have to do those origins again. Overall, I thought this was really good. You really can't go wrong with Denny O'Neil Batman. I love the little breadcrumbs that they left along the way, especially with Ubu not wanting Batman to go first, except for when there was danger, like with the leopard or the mountaintop. It was good, really good. I think I'd give this A-. The only reason I'm not giving this a higher grade is because of my own personal, how do I put it? It's lackluster with Ra's al Ghul, and that's great stuff. So, once again, I leave you with some feedback, and I hope to start sending some more soon. So, have a good one.
Thank you, Russell. The story's not bad. It's very much a product of its time. So, if you enjoy 70s Batman, you probably really enjoy this issue.
I think I don't dislike Ra's al Ghul. I don't love him. I don't know. I don't think I would say he's lackluster. What I find so fascinating about Ra's al Ghul, I find him fascinating, but also it makes me sometimes feel a little bit, I don't know, is I feel like Ra's al Ghul is very much a villain of the 1970s. So, we have Poison Ivy, who is, also an eco-terrorist, but she is a little more on the ground, I feel like early environmentalism, Silent Spring, kind of stuff. Ra's al Ghul is taking it to an even bigger level. But what I feel like really is making Ra's al Ghul so 1970s, and also somewhat sometimes makes me feel a little hesitant about him, is he is an exceedingly wealthy, environmental, but shadowy Middle Eastern guy. So I sometimes feel a little bit about him, because he's coming about in the 70s, which is during the energy crisis. It's during the period of the oil embargo. And so that's one thing that sometimes makes me, I think they've done good things with him, but a part of me is always I don't know, just looking at the historical circumstances of when Ra's al Ghul was created. And it can be a problem, even now, if you don't write him in a respectful way, or if you don't have other, he is a villain, but if you don't have other Muslim characters that you are having, it's not defined that he's specifically Muslim either, but it's something you need to be careful of in Western culture, of not just Middle Eastern dude must be a terrorist, kind of thing. That is one thing that sometimes gives me pause a little bit with Ra's al Ghul.
I think Denny just wanted. I would assume he just did that because he at this point, I mean, his first appearance, he wanted this to be a mysterious figure. So it's like, oh, he comes from the mysterious part of the world. And I don't know if he did that too, just so it's like, oh, well, why hasn't Batman ever heard of this guy before? Oh, because he lived on the other side of the planet.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say that I feel like Ra's al Ghul is a racist caricature because it doesn't go that far, but there's definitely some like what Edward Said identifies as Orientalism going on with Ra's al Ghul because he's like a rich, shadowy Middle Eastern dude. Like that super plays into the kind of ideas that Westerners have about the Middle East as being the East in general, about being exotic and this kind of thing. And I mean, and Talia, of course, is like very sexualized and like wants to give herself to Batman, and that is also kind of a Orientalist trope.
I mean, you can make that argument, but if you look at some of the comics from the 70s, there are way more racist examples than Ross.
Oh no, definitely. I'm just saying that that's one of the things that I find interesting about Ra's al Ghul, but also sometimes I'm like, just because I think it's not an accident that a Middle Eastern eco-terrorist wasn't on the Batman radar until the 1970s.
Yeah. I mean,
and then all of a sudden, he becomes such a big presence.
Yeah, and just at this point, more than anything, he just reminds me of a Bond villain too. Mm-hmm. Just the death, just the death traps, and it's like, and he's different. Yeah,
and I mean, I'm not saying they haven't done very interesting things with Talia. It's just that there's always that risk that it could end up. She could end up just like kind of being a bad stereotype.
And I think, Roz was like one of the first, like one of the big menaces because, everyone else at this point, the Joker and everyone, it's just like, oh, they might destroy the city. But it's like with Roz, it's like, oh yeah, I want to obliterate most of the population of the planet.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah. Yeah. And so I guess that's actually one thing that I do kind of find interesting about Ra's al Ghul is I'm always kind of interested in how, I mean, some of the villains, it doesn't work out so well because, a lot of the ones in the 40s, like, the Joker, he's got the clown thing. Oh, the Riddler, he does riddles. Oh, Catwoman, she's a cat that dresses up like a cat. There's not a lot of deeper historical stuff going on there. Yeah. But I find it not to be a coincidence that Poison Ivy comes about in the late 60s. And I find it not to be a coincidence that it is 1971 that we are getting Ra's al Ghul. So on the one hand, sometimes I'm like, on the other hand, I find him interesting because I feel like he is a product of his time, and I find it interesting when you get some of these new Batman villains, you're like, oh.
Yeah. Well, Poison Ivy...
You, like, scream, I was invented in the 80s or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, like, Poison Ivy, I believe they said they wrote her for the TV show, and then they didn't use her, so I don't know if they, like, reworked her a little bit and just had her in the comics. But, yeah, she was in the 60s because they wrote her for the TV show originally.
Right, but I also feel like it's not an accident that they said we need another villain. They're like, we need a female villain. It was the 60s, and they decided to make her an environmentalist. That's... Like, I don't think you would not have seen that in the 40s.
Oh,
I don't think they would. If they'd been like, we need another female villain, they would have been like, let's have her be opposed to humans pillaging the environment. That was not on people's radar.
Well, again, too, in the 40s, I mean, who was aware of the environment? They were like, oh, let's dump toxic waste in the river. It'll be good for you. Put some hair on your chest.
And it'll make people very small.
Exactly. But
OSHA.
And then the other thing, I mean, with making Roz like the shadowy foreigner, it's like you bring Batman out of Gotham. A lot of the, most of his other villains, you don't really take him out of Gotham. Everyone else does, Roz does.
Right. So, yes.
All right. So
it's interesting. I mean, he's certainly an interesting villain, and they've done a lot of stuff with him.
Did they have to? All right. Here's my question. Did they have to make him an immortal? Would you have been happy if he was just like a regular guy?
No, I like him better that he's really old.
Okay. Yeah.
An immortal.
I
mean, I suppose you could be like, these sort of mysterious things. I mean, I suppose that is to a certain extent a little bit of a Middle Eastern trope as well. But I don't know, an Orientalist trope, excuse me, as well. But it makes him way more interesting.
Yeah, I mean, shouldn't he be harder to beat though, since he has like hundreds of years of experience?
Exactly. And then I think he's a pretty good villain. And he's interesting. No, I do like that about him, that he's old. I feel like sometimes the Lazarus Pits are not always consistently, like, I can't always figure out.
Oh, yeah.
What exactly? Like, the Lazarus Pits are not always consistent.
It used to.
It's like some people drop in and they don't come out as, mentally messed up as other people. Or sometimes it's, like, do you have to be dead? How can you be reanimated? Sometimes I think the Lazarus Pits, they're very cool, but sometimes they can also add problems. Because it's kind of like, why doesn't Bruce Wayne dig his parents up and dump them into the Lazarus Pit?
There was actually a story in the Justice League book. What was it? Either late 90s, early 2000s. Like, yeah, Roz stole their bodies. He was going to dump the Waynes in a Lazarus Pit. And Batman was like, no, don't do it. Don't do it.
Right, yeah, and then it's, there's the resurrection of Ra's al Ghul, and they're like, Tim's taking something, and they're like, no, don't, it won't bring your friends back. But then, Dick goes all weird, and they have him dump the body of Batman in there, and he comes back weird and isn't Bruce. So they're like, oh, snap, Tim was right. Like, could there have been a different way to figure that out? I don't know.
Because it was a clone, yeah. Yeah, the Lazarus Pits, I mean, they used to prolong life, but yeah, now it's like they raise the dead. They do whatever the writer basically wants them to do.
Right, yeah. Yeah, and so that, I think, can be, whatever.
They've gone crazy with those Lazarus Pits. All right. So, is that it on this one?
Yeah, I would say yes.
All right, so next time we'll be covering the new issue will be out, Nightwing 81, and another Kristen pick, Batman Family 7 and 11.
We're sticking with the 70s.
Yep, Robin and Batgirl, that's right.
Oh yeah, I think 7 is the one where they compete against Sportsmaster and Huntress. Why are there so many different characters named Huntress? Couldn't they come up with other names? Because around this same time, they have another Huntress. They're inventing Helena Wayne Huntress. She's popping out. I'm like, why are you using Huntress for her and for this villainess?
They did that all the time. I mean, look, in the 40s, you had Flash and Green Lantern. Then they brought the characters back in the 50s, used the same names, Flash and Green Lantern.
I know, but at least they're good guys using the same. Like, why do we have a villain and a hero named Huntress coming out practically at the same time?
Oh, that's kind of topical, because I don't know if they'll be in season 2, but Huntress and Sportsmaster were in season 1 of Stargirl. See, Kristen knows what she's doing. All right, so send your thoughts. So when the new issue will be out, and Batman Family 7 and 11, which are on DC Universe Infinite. So send your thoughts on those. Email us, capesandlunatics@gmail.com, or call the voicemail.
We should say, everyone, we will be focusing on the Robin and Batgirl stories.
Yes.
Like, sorry, no man bat, whatever.
I figured. I was reading
the actual issue is quite fat.
I was reading them. I was like, I figured. I know what she's going to focus on. Yes. So,
right,
the Dick Grayson stuff, kids. Or call the
obviously.
Yes, or call the voicemail 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES. And you can follow Nightwing News on Facebook, Twitter. Find links to all of our various social medias for all the shows. Links to this YouTube channel. Links to the Patreon. More and more stuff going up there. Links to merchandise. Everything all in one place. That's Linktree, linktr.ee/Capes and Lunatics. And remember, we have a Patreon for the Capes and Lunatics, but you can also check out the Southgate Media Group Patreon. There's a lot of free shows there from everyone on the network. There's paid content. There's all kinds of goodness at southgatemediagroup.com. And hey, kids, summer's coming. You need stuff to read at the beach or whatever. So, go pick up Pod Life the book, now in digital and paperback. Volume 2 will be coming soon. Audio version will be coming soon. And especially fans of this show, like I say, every week, required reading. Go pick up Dick Grayson, Boy Wonder. You think you know Nightwing? You think you know Robin? You don't know Dick.
Dramatic film.
That's hey, gotta push some units. All right, so yes, so those are on sale on Amazon. So when you do that, go use the link for Southgate Media Group right down there in the show notes. Help us support this show, the network, and that mysterious. He's not Middle Eastern, but maybe
he's Middle West. He's Middle Western.
that mysterious Midwestern guy, Rob Master Doom Southgate.
Make it rain.
Nice.
So says Master Doom. Please kick me in the pants.
Good job.
Why did your eye drift over to my box?
Good job, old chum. All right. Again, next episode, get the new issue and Batman Family 7 and 11. The Dick Grayson stories. And Bart Gordon. Oh, we're gonna get the Dick versus Heartless fight.
Also, I hope they officially announce the name of the puppy here soon.
Seriously, it's been enough time. And Tom Taylor, we would love to talk to you. Hey, I know you live in Australia. I've made time differences work before with other Australians.
Yeah, it's the summer.
Yeah, if we're gonna do it on a weekend or something.
My work is done. I'm pretty free.
Weekends work. Hey, it's okay. All right, but until next time, same wing time.
Same wing channel.
The Nightwing News.
Are you a fan of comic books? Are you a fan of comic book villains? Well, join me, Russell, as we take a walk on the dark side with Tomes of Evil, the podcast dedicated to discussing, analyzing, and overall glorifying the villains of Marvel Comics, DC Comics, and all your favorite indie books.
Tomes of Evil, a comic book villain podcast.